part 2. Let's get started right away. First, I want to start you off with a cool picture that I found, because science rules. And take a look at this. This is a spider attacking a bug, not quite sure, it looks like some sort of bug with wings, that was and at that moment it was encased in amber from a tree, or a tree sap that turned into amber, so it's fossilized. And this is 100 million years old. So it's a action of a spider from 100 million years ago attacking this other bug, and it's like frozen in time, so that's pretty cool. And again, that's from the Mesozoic era, the time of the dinosaurs. 100 million years old, pretty amazing. And I also found this cool animal. Is this for real? A crocoduck? No, probably not, right? That's not real. I don't think a duck would evolve to have a crocodile or alligator head. Sorry. Looks pretty cool though. Okay, so again, we're talking about evolution and natural selection, and we're looking at this diversity of life that we have around the world. And you know, we talked about frogs and just how cool the different colors and shapes and sizes are, and the birds we talked about in class and how their beaks fit the environment that they live in. And this all has to do with evolution, natural selection, survival of the fittest, heredity and inheritance, right? Organisms pass their traits to their offspring, and that's important. And mutations, how all of our different traits come from different mutations, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they have no effect at all. All right, so on your paper, make sure it's labeled homework week number 23, and then the left-hand side, Cornell note style, write evidence for evolution. And again, I've been seeing a little bit of sloppiness in the notes, so I want you to really take your time and make these notes neat, okay, so that someone else could read them and that you can go back and understand them. And number 1 to 3. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is evidence for evolution. We're going to talk about some different topics today, just some things that will help support what we're going to do in class. So first one is evidence for evolution, and number 1 on your list are fossils. So this is, how do we know evolution is happening, right? It's too slow to see it really, but we can see it when we look at fossils. And again, classic example is of a horse. And 60 million years ago, horses were really small, and we can look at their leg bones and their teeth, and then we can go to 40, 25, 7, 3 million years ago into modern horse, and you can see here we can look at the legs and the teeth and see how they're expanding and how they're related to each other, and we know that this animal has been evolving and has been growing and getting bigger to what we see today. Okay, so we look at fossils. Here's another cool picture. This is something called a tiktaalik, and this was found in northern Canada, and it's one of the first amphibians. So at the top, you see here, they found this fossil. This is probably a copy, and they were able to recreate what they think it looked like here, but they know that the time that they found this fossil, the time in geologic history, back during the Precambrian, Paleozoic kind of era, that this was one of the first animals that was going from water to land. Okay, so by looking at the fossil, looking at the characteristics, recreating it, we know a lot about what was happening at that time and what was happening with this organism. So that's pretty cool. All right, number 2, we just examine organisms, and again, this kind of relates to looking at the fossils. Okay, and here we go, we have another diagram showing the evolution of whales, and we can see that whales started as land animals, kind of look like wolves and things, and progress, and they split off and formed different species, and dolphins and the baleen whales and things like that. So again, by looking at the fossils, looking at the skulls in this case, we can see how they're related. We can see how they've progressed and changed over the years. Number 3, we can compare different organisms that live today. And again, I think I showed you this picture before. We can look at the arm bones, okay, 1 bone here, 2 here, 5 digits here, and it matches perfectly a lizard and a cat and a whale and a bat and a frog and a bird. So all of those animals have the same bones, the same basic structure of the arm. They just stretched out or shortened a little bit. Okay, so that shows us that we have a common ancestor back in the past that branched off and split off to form all these different species, including ourselves. All right, so make sure you write that down. And now our next left-hand term will be forming a new species. So we talk a lot about species, so I want to talk about how we form a new species, okay? So you want to write down these steps. The steps are a species just gets some separation, gets new adaptations, and then form new species. For example, you might have a forest that, there's organisms here, and then maybe a river valley over thousands or millions of years carves through, okay? And so the animals on this side are going to be separated from the organisms and animals on this side, and even the plants might change. So these trees change, the organisms change, lots of stuff happens because these are now separated and they're not mixing, they're not together anymore. So you're going to get different mutations over here, different mutations, different adaptations over here. So that's the main way that new species are formed. You can also have a species start moving. So this was a salamander in California. Some went to the west of the mountain ranges through California. Some went to the east, and as they were separated, they adapted to their environment. Okay, this area is different habitat, different climate than this side. And then they keep moving and changing and adapting, and now if they happen to meet again down here, they're different species. They're completely different. They're not going to really recognize each other anymore. They're not going to be able to reproduce, so that means it's a new species, okay? All right, so we got that. And next, causes for extinction. We talk a lot about extinction and how if animals don't survive, right, survival of the fittest, they go extinct. So let's look specifically at what would be some reasons that a species wouldn't survive, wouldn't continue going on, okay? So we're going to have 3 reasons. Now, so why does the population go extinct? All right. So let's say we have a population of bunnies or rabbits in a forest area. Well, first thing is they might get new predators. Okay. A new predator somehow might move into the area, and those rabbits might not be adapted to fight off that predator. Okay. Their numbers might get dwindled and they might go extinct. They might get competition for food. Okay, maybe this deer population moves in and starts competing for food. It's not preying on the rabbits, but it's competing for food. And if it's stronger and better and eats too much of the food, or it takes up too much space, those rabbits might go extinct. Okay, and then the third reason would be loss of habitat, maybe from habitat destruction. Maybe humans are coming in there. Maybe there's just a catastrophe, a flood or a volcanic eruption, who knows? Or something like climate change, the weather changes and they cannot keep up, they cannot adapt. So all of those would be loss of habitat. And again, those are the main reasons that an organism might go extinct. Okay, they'd go bye-bye. Too bad. All right, so we got causes for extinction, 1, 2, 3. And finally, on your notes, I want you to draw a picture that summarizes or relates to anything that we talked about in this video. All right, you can leave the summary blank. We're going to be talking about that in class. So bring these notes in, make sure they're neat, make sure they're complete. And this is, again, week 23, Evolution and Natural Selection Part 2, covering Chapter 10 in the book if you want to look at that. And all good. I will see you in class. Bye.